Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dance of the Soul. Regan and I are grateful that you're here or will be here to watch us and interact with us, even if it's now or later. We are grateful that we can be assistance to you. And on the Dance of the Soul, our intention is always to help bring out the light in this dark world of ours. And as and as we walk through life and going through life, Regan is a hypnotherapist through the Newton Institute. And so he goes back in between the worlds and kind of finds the path for people's inner knowings that why are we here? Why is our soul doing our work? And a lot of us forget that we have souls that do our walk with us. And our souls are something that go from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And many times as we go, well, Regan doing his hypnotherapy and me doing my mediumship, quick dance into people's personal past lives and the journey of life, that we are one that can go through so much that there's always a reason why we're here on this planet. And many of us are wanting to find out why. Why does this happen? Why doesn't that happen? Why is this going to happen? Why am I pulled over here when I thought I was going to go over there? And all these different things. And it's one of those dances of the soul that gets us through this. And we kind of wanted to have a conversation about how when life gets pulled out from underneath us, why don't things happen when we look forward to them? Why are there so much things? And I'm going to say that this is a perfect conversation for right now, because today is the beginning of the Chinese New Year. The new dragon coming in. There we have a new moon. So it's new understandings, new beginnings, new journeys. And we're going through so many things that are happening in life right now that it's kind of like, why are things not happening the way I want them to? And this COVID thing is really shaking a lot of people up, looking forward to something and it takes forever. Example would be it's a simple thing. My husband bought some new his clubs he's had for over 10 years, and they're starting to fall apart, so he has no choice, and he golfs every weekend, so it's a thing for him. And he got new irons, and they were supposed to be here on Sunday. They haven't shown up yet. And it's like, okay. He's like, why is this happening to me? I mean, it's simple as golf clubs, but he does a lot of work in life, and yet life keeps pounding on him and things like that. So it's like he was kind of looking forward to something good, but I told him they're not going to come when he thinks they are. And but he doesn't like it when I'm right, even though I'm intuitive about things. He still doesn't like it when I'm right. So Regan, welcome to Monday. How are you doing?
Yeah, I have a good example of what happened to me just this last week, how things didn't. You get a little irritated because things aren't working out the way you kind of thought they would, or in the order which they were. It's like we had a stove that someone gave us to keep for them for 2 weeks, and that was 3 years ago. 800-pound stove. Can you imagine that? 800 pounds. It's a professional restaurant stove.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so it's been in the way in the garage. We can't even get the car in the garage for the last 3 years because we were doing this person a favor. And finally, we just had to say, in the next month you have to give it out, or we're just getting rid of it. So they didn't respond. So we put it on Craigslist for free. And it just so happened we had the perfect person who knew this model stove. He had actually had one, taken it apart and used it before. He knew all about it because we didn't know anything about it. Only it was heavy and there's no way I could lift it to get it out of there, And so he was going to, he came at a time to look at it, and they said, okay, I'll be back on Thursday and I'm going to bring a helper and we'll manage to get it out. Well, Thursday came, didn't show up. So, you could either be upset or, whatever. So, just called him and said, well, when, we really need to get this out of here because we're going away on the weekend. And so he made a promise he'd be there on Friday. Well, Thursday night, somebody happened to run into our security gate and knock it off its track. And so we didn't even know if we could get it open to get a car out, or to how's he going to get the stove out, because we couldn't get there's no way to get it to the security gate. And so I looked at the gate, and part of it is really bent, and this is like 40 feet long, probably weighs a ton with all the wood and everything on it. So I knew what I was going to have to do is to knock all the boards off. I'm going to have to take it off. I'm going to have to straighten it, but we couldn't even move it. Okay. So he shows up on Friday, and it just, which, he should have been there Thursday, but he came on Friday. Well, he was the perfect person that helped me figure out how to move the gate. If he'd have come the next day, I'd have been stuck. I had to have someone come out because it was so heavy. I couldn't move it. And with the help of a jack and some boards that he went and found, and then getting at a certain angle, he just was mechanically inclined that way. So he was able to solve that problem, getting it back so we could get the stove out, get our car out. And so I thought afterwards, well, sometimes it's not, everything doesn't happen what we think is the best way for ourselves. It's like the universe has plans that's going to make it easy on us, or going to help us out,
Yes.
So
yes.
it worked out. It was great, And so I just thought, okay, when things happen, sometimes you just have to not get mad about them. You just go, since it wasn't anything I did, it was something the universe did, I'm going to just have to just roll with it, not get upset about it. I mean, I still have to, it's going to take me probably 2 or 3 days to knock everything down, get it all out, find someone to straighten the metal, and then I can put it all back together. So, it's got to be done, and I don't want to pay $2,000 for someone to do it. So I might as well just enjoy it,
Exactly. And that's the thing, is we don't know what's on the other side of things not happening. My girl, there's somebody who I know that, interviews, got all the way up in the interview process, didn't get the job. Very done with the job that they have, right? And yet looking forward to having what perceived to be the perfect-ish job. She knows that there's no perfectness, but and it's like, there's some reason that her guides, her angels, her whoever you believe in, saw that there was something, that either there's a reason why they're supposed to stay at the job that they're at, or that this job didn't present in the long haul a better job for them.
Yeah. I think we've all heard stories from friends, family, read in books, or sometimes we watch movies, and it's all about this, when we think things are going wrong, and then when it's all said and done down the line, we go, oh my God, if that hadn't gone wrong, all this wouldn't have gone right, kind of thing. Like, I mean, I won't go into all the details again, but that time, I always remember going on a journey somewhere, and the plane had mechanical problems, so they put us up in a hotel room. Well, it just happened to be the perfect place for me to get to my bottom, to deal with an addiction that I had. And if everything hadn't happened a certain way, I kind of wouldn't have been in that same spot, in that same everything. And
had the magical aha.
Right. Yeah.
You would have had other ahas, but it might not have been the magical aha.
Yeah. And that was something that really proved to me too, that there was help from the other side, because it was when I was in my 20s, and just having them, to me, taking me in a dream, but then making me awake in the dream. Like, I know that I'm there, and I know that I'm sleeping at the same time, and to have these different teachers or something do something that took my addiction away. So I didn't have to do a 12-step program or anything. They must have felt, okay, you earned it, or whatever reason I had the addiction was gone. And so, never doubted. It was one of the big things, big God moments in my life that made me realize that we do have help, and teachers and masters and someone watching out for us, but we have to be ready. We have to acknowledge them, and to kind of do some work on this side, and then they show up, So people listening to this, everybody's probably got a story that's listening to this, or will be listening to this in the future, of something, and they go, like, why did that happen? Why did this happen? I had all these plans of getting my house built by certain time, and now it's winter time, and it's costing me all this. But so what? Like I'm watching. It's a great. For people watching now, I think the word's getting out now because it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Was that As We See It? I think. Remember, I think I sent that thing to you this week,
Yeah, it's
and it's
on Prime.
about three. Yeah, it's on Prime, and it's the new thing on there. And Prime, the reviewers gave it 94, and reviewers so far have given it 100%. And it's about three autistic adults that they're on the
In
on
the
the
spectrum.
autism spectrum, and they have a caregiver. They live in this home with a caregiver, and there's the four of them, and it's heartwarming. It's hilarious sometimes. And all three of the actors, I've done some more research on all three of them are on the spectrum. These actors that they have, one's a comedian, and then the other two that are there, and the interviews they've given, it's just really, it's really helping us see how God has made us all different, and how just because they're different, we ostracize them, or we don't want to understand them. And I think this is going to go a long way for people to be more accepting and more loving, and that to people that are on the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have so much empathy for them and what they're going through. So you people are going to have a baby, are they, and then all of a sudden they have a baby with autism, or have a baby with some other kind of disease, and at first it's like, this isn't what I planned, this is
Yeah.
not what I thought. So how did I give birth to a baby that's we look as not normal or something like that? And going through life, there's just one disappointment after another. So maybe let's talk today, like, okay, how does a mature a person or a spiritual person deal with that as compared to people that are not so evolved in a way, And I hate saying that in a way sometimes, not as evolved, because it makes it sound like, oh, we're some sort of special group or something,
Yeah, it's not, yeah, because it's not better than or less than, because I can tell you that I know a
Yeah,
lot of spiritual people that they struggle with a lot of things that life throws at them.
yeah,
They take so much on personally that it's a hard walk. It's a very hard walk. And for me, I know that if I see whatever's happening as a journey, that helps me. So in other words, like if I get told that something's not going to happen and I was looking forward to it, which I've learned to kind of be the middle of the road with a lot of things nowadays, that it's like, uh, which is kind of a
yeah,
sad place to be. But at the same time, I do understand that when something at first happens, that I know it's like getting hit with a wall or a door slamming in my face. And there's going to be a reaction. There's going to be a
yeah.
reaction with emotions. There's going to be a reaction with even my body feeling off. There's going to be a reaction from my mind, and sometimes it's what the, and that's the
Mhm.
first reaction my mind wants to say, right? There's these first reactions that, if we understand, those first reactions are basically shock. It's shock.
Yeah,
Now that shock is different. Shock is different. So shock
yeah,
might be different from saying that, well, I can't get out right now. Somebody pulled in the driveway and they're blocking it. I can't get out right now, but I had
mhm,
hopes to, let's say, go to the store and get something that I really wanted, So there's something that kind of slammed in their door. And then another one is that somebody passes away and you weren't expecting it. And
oh
that
boy,
took the wall out, the floor out from underneath you. That's a different kind of shock. But it's all shock on a different level. So if you take the spectrum and understand that that's a moment, right?
wow.
That's a moment.
Like we tend in life to create a timeline. This is going to happen now, and this is going to be here and there. And when we get thrown for a loop, and again too, I think no matter how spiritually evolved you are, when something like that happens, there's, you know, uh, using a good word here, there's always that oh darn moment immediately, like, oh, that's but I think what's good is it's okay. Then it's when you can see how far you've come as far as handling things in the best way. There's that moment of that, but your higher self knows, okay, that's just normal. Get over that a little bit. Now let's see, here we are, got this flat tire out in the middle of nowhere. Let's look around, see what we can do to get ourselves out of here. Instead of just crying by the road or, or cussing for 20 minutes, hey, you got this
But there's
situation. Deal
there's
with it.
going to be times where even if we're highly evolved in spirituality, for lack of a better word there again, that there's times where I sit down and I cry, it's
Yeah.
like, because it's a human experience going through something. It's a human experience going through something, and people forget. I think that when something gets pulled out from underneath them, when they were hoping so badly for something to happen, that they forget that there's going to be a reaction until you can walk to a moment of having an interaction. Now, that path is either short by who you are, by your natural, there's some of us that are more naturally inclined to say, okay, what do I do now? And then there's some of us that have to go through the day of going, and then tears and the woe is me, which is okay. I mean, we're all there. It's going to be different for everybody because of what they know about themselves or don't know about themselves.
Yeah, and to have a good relationship when your partner or friend or whatever the relationship you're in has that moment, is just give them some space a little bit. Let them work on that for a minute. Don't try to, really in an instant say, oh, it's no big deal or whatever. Let them have that moment to themselves, and then they'll calm down in a bit, and then talk to them, and then you can help them maybe kind of work it out or something, because we all go through that, like especially we have children and they're maybe a car backed into their bike or something, and then they're just crying or mad, and they're angry and whatever. Let them calm down for a little bit. Then you can, but the worst time to do it is just right when it happens, and then you try to give them the, the loving approach to deal with something.
Yeah, exactly.
Let them be angry for a little while.
Well, and that's the thing is that I know for this year, at least for a little while, I'm noticing a lot of our inner childness speaking out, and I have an understanding that that there's all parts of us. So there's a higher self, an inner self, an older wisdom self. There's the soul self. There's the spirit self, and then there's the inner child self. And that inner child treats life like an inner child, like a child sometimes. And it's like, sometimes if we're wanting dessert and we can't find the ice cream, it's like, but I really want ice cream, and we're sitting here as a 40-year-old saying, but I want ice cream. Well, that's our inner child speaking.
Yeah.
And many a times when we're watching someone else go through, the rug being pulled out from underneath them, or, a door being slammed in their face, or metaphorically or for real, it depends on jobs and that kind of stuff, that understanding what are we hearing from that other person? Is it the inner child that's having a moment? Or is it a very hurt, soft, gentle person that really needs time and just a hug, or, it's one of those things. It depends on what shows up, who shows up to interact with that being. There's times where I can tell you in my relationship with my husband that it depends on who is presenting in me. It depends on what he interacts with, and how to do that, and vice versa. That there's those times where, it's honoring what's showing up can help us. Do we talk now, or do we hold just space right now and just say, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, and our what we do, and for people listening, our job is to help people sometimes to get the why to things, like why are things happening, like why is this such a mess and that. And a lot of times, Natasha, you can access someone, a coach or an angel or a being from the other side that can give them some good advice, or when I have people in trance and they go to the other side and they can talk over there and ask why things are so difficult, or why do they have why is this happening? Why is that happening? And do we is our guest backstage now? No, I wonder why we're. And did you send her the link? Yeah.
So
Okay.
so Regan, you texted me basically and said he had somebody who was coming on and would be perfect for this conversation, and other conversations, and she's not here yet. That's okay, because something
Yeah.
probably came up for her, and there's another time, and
Yeah.
we're all going through something that is very much, oh, what's the word? Why are things happening the way they are? And even if it's simple, why is COVID hanging on so long?
And it might, that, or I read the other day that even this new variant now is starting to develop 14 different variants of itself, you know. So, I mean, just like the flu thing, it's just another thing maybe we're going to have to, and hopefully it's not going to be, one that's going to be really, really fatal in instances, that'll be more like a cold or flu, or just
Well,
something that.
that's what it's seeming like, going through our. I'm in the petri dish of life. I work a little bit of time during the day, at an elementary school, and so I'm in the petri dish of life, and that's what it seems like. It's from observing what other people are going through. Knock on wood that I'm staying pretty good here. That it just seems like it's. I don't want to say it just seems like, because people going through it personally, it's their personal journey, and whatever that personal journey is theirs. That does have some, when they describe the symptoms, it has a ring of a really bad flu,
Yeah,
and um
that's the way most people are describing it. But I tell you, in the last month, I just know so many more people that got it. You know,
but
you
if
know,
you look at society and how we're kind of in that, I'm freaking done with this.
yeah,
I'm done with it. And we're not vigilant with how we navigate with our hands anymore. We're not vigilant with, I don't want to say mask or no mask, but we're not vigilant with our own personal spaces. There's a lot of people getting into people's faces going, but you didn't do it the way I wanted to. And there's not this energy of understanding that we're all one in this way of navigating. My husband watches golf, and he was saying, well, I guess COVID's over. Nobody's wearing a mask, even though they're face to face with each other.
yeah. Well, I'm a golfer too, just like your husband. So when he said he got the new irons, and I'm thinking, oh man, that would be nice. But I got a lot of new clubs last year, but that was the first thing that was kind of opened up, because with the golf, like at the places here in California, you have to wear your mask when you check in. But once you get out on the course, you're kind of pretty much spread apart from each other, and you're out in the outdoors. So
Yeah.
it was kind of probably okay, or not too bad. I was worried about this weekend with all of the games going on, all of the playoff games and everything. Stadiums are completely packed everywhere, like in LA, where they've been having a problem. But at least they're outdoors there. I mean, if this was like a big concert, indoor concert or something, would probably be worse. But why do you think that is? That it seems to be normal with everything, that we can handle things for a while and then we numb ourselves to it.
Yeah.
We just, maybe it's a survival thing. Maybe we
In a
can't
way, I
stay
think
like
it is.
this for every day for years. That at some point we just have to go, okay, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. If I get it, I get it, and
Well,
just
and that's the thing is that we can only stay in fear and flight for so long.
can only what?
Stay in fear and flight
Yeah,
for so long. And I know for me that my adrenal glands were stuck on. I wasn't necessarily in fear and flight, but going through all the grief process and then living with an alcoholic husband, that I kind of stayed on that um, protective mode for several years, and that fear and flight ended up um, wearing my adrenal glands down.
yeah.
And, that's why so many people are so tired, is because they get stuck in that fear and flight mode, and our body starts struggling, staying, all the organs struggle staying in comparisonly vital, and when we're going through that moment and having struggles with staying in that protective mode, especially if we stay in the fear part of it. Now, for me, I put on a mask when I go places. It's a thing. I don't get. I'm not energetically attached to it. I'm grateful actually to have a mask between me and students sometimes,
Yeah.
because the fact that many times they're sneezing and ugh.
Yeah. Especially,
And I'm grateful to have a mask to at least have one scenario. And so with that, the it's our perspective on how do we manage things can do it. If we're getting like, well, I'm outside and I don't really care anymore, that's almost the opposite of being more neutral and saying, like I'm outside doing playground duty. When a kid comes up and talks to me, my mask is on. I don't care if I'm outside or not,
yeah.
because of the fact that it was like us going through the flu several years ago, and half of our school was gone because of the flu that was going through. Well,
Yeah.
I would sit working one on one, and I'd do this with my scarves.
Yeah.
You know,
How's it at your school now? Are the kids back in? Are they having to wear masks?
oh
What's,
yeah.
because I know some schools are like a lot of schools are requiring it. Uh, do the kids that are old enough have to be vaccinated or just wearing masks?
They do not have to be vaccinated, but it's preferred if they are
Yeah.
in Washington State. Our Washington State's more on the fearful side, and you know the bucker down. We've got billboards when you drive over, mask up, and get vaccinated, mask up, so it's almost like billboards. It's pretty sad. It's
Yeah. Well,
pretty it's pretty bullish in a way.
even though it's been 2 years now since COVID hit, it's still continuing to ruin people's plans, vacation plans and flying plans. And so, boy, I think as a species, we've had to really come to terms with having to deal with, hey, things aren't going the way we had hoped they would go.
Hmm.
And some people aren't handling it very well. I mean, there's look at all the people fighting on planes. I mean, they've never had so many um, people getting in fight with the stewardesses and other people on the plane because everybody's just at the end of the rope. Um,
I think we were at the end of the rope before COVID hit. I really think we were getting to the end of the rope before COVID hit.
mm,
I
I
mean,
mean, just
there again, being the
huh,
observer of life and being in life, observing that we had, now I can say the kids are actually somewhat okay being in school. They're a little bit more okay with applying and listening to the teacher. Not all of them are wanting to be there, but before COVID hit, we were having a lot of disrespect in our schools.
hmm,
A lot of disrespect, and I'm not
that's
calling it,
interesting.
that it was anybody's fault. It was just the way that the pendulum swings in life. If you watch society, that the pendulum swings back and forth, and we were going into disrespect, and the pendulum's still swinging into disrespect. That we're not all one, and we have to. I don't want to go there personally, and I'm trying not to go there. I'm wanting to bring light in, yet at the same time, though, society, if we don't go there, we don't see it. We don't
Yeah.
see it.
Well, even in general now, look at at least here in the United States, it's so divided between uh, the Republicans, Democrats kind of thing. And in a way, it's ruined my view of what I thought the world was like. I thought people were more like, okay, here's the facts. Let's look at the truth. And that people would, people would say, okay, even though I don't like it, I guess this is the truth and this is what's happened. But even with truth in the face of things, some people still won't, totally believe it, So, and it's probably been a long road that we've gotten to get to this point because, we were all naive at a point earlier in life, and we thought that, people in authority and all this had more morals and ethics than they do. And when on each side of the spectrum, people start not being ethical, and start doing things they shouldn't, that don't have integrity and everything, it slowly erodes your confidence in a certain system,
Mhm.
And so after a while, when you don't know who to believe or who's telling the truth, or you get to be a cynic and realize that, everybody on both sides is crooked, and I don't know. I think it didn't just start. I think it's been a road downhill. And if you look back, I was always a history buff. I mean, you look back in the world, Natasha, and there's never been a free society that's lasted very long before it was taken down, and then it had to resurface again in some other form. But it's
Yep.
always this roller coaster ride, you know. So maybe we were taking things for granted, but we still have choices now. We can get to trying to having a free society and go back the other way, or we can just let it go downhill. So how would you say it's, for people that are frustrated right now, for people that have this feeling in their gut that's just like they can't trust anybody, and what's the world coming to? How do you think is a good spiritual way for people to deal with that, to keep them from going down a rabbit hole that's really emotionally too much?
Well, I know that it's a lot of perspective.
Perspective?
Perspective.
Yeah.
And for me, I watch the news. I believe my intention for watching the news is to hear what's going on, not really what it's more what they're saying is going on more than what's going on. So then I can kind of keep a tab on what their perspective is on this world, right? Because news isn't always truth. I don't care where you're getting it from. It's a perspective. You know,
Hmm.
like I tell people that, I believe the spirit of the Bible, but I also have an understanding that man wrote the Bible.
Hmm.
And so it's going to have a perspective of man writing the Bible, even though spirit helped them write the Bible, but it's through that man that got written, right?
Yeah.
So with it's that scenario. So for me, I feel energetically the tension that is going on. Okay, the tension. Like right now we have a levy in our school district that we're voting to pass it. And we have people who are saying, "No, I'm not going to vote yes because you're making my kid wear a mask to school."
Uh,
Even though that levy will take away at least three educators' jobs to supporting that student, and even though it's taken away their music and their all the extras that help the student be, so that when they do wear a mask to school, that if we school districts, they try to make the better choice in the middle.
yeah.
They're going to upset somebody, but they're saying no because my kid is having to wear a mask.
Yeah.
So that could be my job on the line because they're saying no because, you know, okay, release that. Now, where I'm at today, I had a moment where a student who has been argumentative to me decided to be nice to me.
Oh, what grade?
Fifth.
Fifth grade. So they're what, 8, 9 years old?
No, they're more
About 10
10,
years old.
11. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a big thing.
Yeah. And so with that, that I come back to what's circling around me. I care about other things. I try to make things better. I try to have the hawk and the eagle's point of view, but I really know that the moment that I'm at, it's the mouses or the small animals that are our ground animals. Their perspective is truly what gets me through my day.
Hmm.
Gets me through the day. Because I can tell you that last week that I had a student who said, "You're the best. You're helping me be inspired to learn." And then I had another student, the same one that's been abrasive to me, told me to F off.
Hmm.
Now, who am I going to look back and on that day and be inspired with?
Right.
That is my choice to put a smile on my face and get me upright to walk my day. Now, a lot of people will focus on the other. That's their nature. I
Yeah.
get it. For me, because I have to live in here, that
Hmm.
that I really take that perspective to to navigate with that the more the light.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that
see,
light is going to help me bring light home. It's going to help me
yeah,
bring light to the food I cook. It's going to help me bring light to my animals. It's going to help me bring light to, like talking to the person I was talking to before I come on here, that in the last year, she's lost 5 people she loves in the last
yeah.
year. Now, talk
Wow.
about a rough day, a rough life.
Hmm. See, and that comes down to it's like we have a choice who we listen to. I mean, whether you like I tell my clients sometimes when we and as a therapist, we have this technique where we just help them, especially in hypnosis, help them to reframe just the way they're looking at a situation. First to make them aware that the way they're looking at a situation isn't the only way to look at it. You know
Hmm.
that it's like a mountain with 6 different sides and they all go to the top. But it's not just one way that you can, get up the mountain. So you just have to uh, change your perspective, and how when you change perspective, how it can change everything for you. You know.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but then here's the thing that even is better than that, and that's what that Miguel Luis from who wrote the Four Agreements, as we talked
Uh-huh.
about once before on here, a very spiritual person, or the way to get through life the best way is to be neutral about people's assessment of you. Whether they want to say something that you're horrible, ugly, the worst person they ever met, or you're an angel, you're the best person. They're coming from their own perspective and their own thing. It doesn't necessarily what they say mean that that's you. Just
Hmm.
because somebody says you're an awful person doesn't mean you are. Just because someone says you're the best person in the world, it's just their opinion where they're coming from. So walking that fine line of, I mean, we all want to take the good, we all kind of want, the bad we want to kind of shove away. But it is funny how if you really, start to believe some of the negative things you hear about yourself. I mean, there's always that thing where somebody mirrors something and you get a negative thing back, and then you kind of know that you did a bad thing and caused that reaction. But well, look at the performers. You give something like Barbara Streisand. I mean, there's people that'll die for that woman, and there's other people that they go, oh,
Hmm.
she's a singer. But does that mean that she's this or that she's that? She's just this person that loves to sing. So
Exactly, exactly. And that, you know, like I tell people, even the students on the ground that come to me, he told me I was stupid. Well, are you? No. Well, keep telling yourself that then. Are you
right,
stupid? No. Well, then why are you listening to them if you know you're not stupid? And it gets them thinking. It's like, hmm, hmm. And like I had some kids in line today saying, someone said, "Well, quit doing that, stupid." And I said, "Nobody is stupid. He knows something that you don't know. And you know something he doesn't know. So nobody's stupid."
right.
And And it's that we're so hypersensitive right now that if we can take a deep breath and understand that somebody might be having a rough day and they don't have a filter. They don't have a filter. And you know, I take the perspective. I feel bad for the people that have to be in the trenches right now. You
In the
know,
what?
in the trenches. The
Oh
police
yeah.
officers, the fire departments, the principals, it's like, the principals of the school, they have to listen to what the superintendent wants, and yet they have to try to do the better by the students, and then they have their own personal belief systems in there. It's like, you know, uh, there's these moments where if my husband is a good case, he has rotten days. He's a pessimist, by nature. He's a pessimist by nature. I've
Yeah.
asked him many times in a day, so what happened in your day? And named zillions of things that were wrong. And yet I ask him, what's one good thing? And I can tell you now, he can tell me. 5 years ago, he couldn't. He
Hmm.
could now because of the fact that it's practicing being more of an optimist, pessimist middle.
Hmm.
And life is always going to take the rug out from underneath us. That's called life.
Yeah. Well, in companies, we talk about the Enneagram a few times. That's ENNEGRAM, and it's that it's that system that appears that God made 9 different softwares, and all of us have a little bit of the 9 characteristics in us,
Mm-hmm.
but there's usually some of that some of the characteristics are more predominant than others. And People that if you take the free Enneagram test online, you just go free Enneagram test, and there's 2 tests you take, and it'll tell you what your number is and what your wing is, like the influence you have of some other characteristics. And sixes are kind of known. I think there's more sixes than anything of any of the numbers, but sixes tend to be the ones you have in the company that can go, oh yeah, but this could go wrong. Oh yeah, if we do
Mm-hmm.
that, this is going to go da 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 da. And they're the ones that have the underground bunkers in case we get blown up, and they've got the safety kit in their trunk, in case something happens, and they've got it all planned out. Um,
Which
and
is fine. It's fine
It
actually to
is,
think that.
yeah.
That is one of my
We
plan
need
A,
people
plan
like.
B, plan C, plan D, plan E, plan F. It's like when my husband says, let's go out for dinner. I have like 16 plans that can happen within that moment. Not necessarily that I'm planning on any of them. Yet at the same time, though, what if?
Yeah.
What if? It's like that. I've been watching the Men in Black series, and there's this one guy is he in number 3, the Men in Black number 3, where he has where he can see the future, and he goes, so it's either the one that the guy comes in and he'll shoot us as he's aiming at us, or it's the one or the plan that he comes in from this window, or it's the plan that he's over there in a disguise. And then whatever happens, oh, yeah, it was that one that I didn't mention yet.
Hmm. I forget that series.
I was watching him the other day, and it was like, that is so life. It's like, well, there's many different plans that can happen.
So
It's
now
our
let's.
perspective on how do we negotiate them to step through them, to step up with the next adventure that can come for us.
And that brings up a little bit of a subject there, like as a medium, um, sometimes people, other than asking you about their problems that they have and how to solve them, uh, some people I think when they think what a medium does is tell you the future, like a fortune teller, right? And
Um,
they just want to know, am I going to meet somebody someday? Am I going to hit the lottery? Things in the future. And recently, when I've had people visiting the afterlife through, in trance, and they're on the other side, they're in heaven or whatever, and they're talking to their guides. What I just did the last couple times, I said to the guides, I said through my client, I'll say, well, ask them that if you make these changes as they're suggesting in your life to help you get, to balance these issues in your life, would it be possible to see what your life might be like in the future? And both times they said, we'll give you a little glimpse. And so then I said, 1, 2, 3, I touch them on the forehead. It says, now you've made these changes in your life, and this is what your life looks like. And they're in some place and describing what it's like, and then I say to the guides, and they haven't corrected me on this, I say, well, now we've shown you one possibility here, of what it can be like. So, and impressing on my clients that's if you do the work that you need to do and make the right choices, this is what it could have been, So I liked it.
The
It was kind of nice.
the writer choices. There's no right or wrong. It's
Yeah.
the writer choices.
How did you phrase that?
Writer.
Right.
The
Yeah.
writer.
If you make the better choice.
Yeah, and I call it the writer choice. It's kind of like a ship being uprighted.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that it's going to be perfectly uprighted, but you want to balance it. You want to balance your life enough to where your ship can go navigate through the channels.
Yeah.
It's not like a ship that all the everything shifted over to the side. You want to be righted.
Yeah. So I wasn't thinking that they actually saw that this was actually going to be their life, but that it's possible that scenario could be. But when they saw what it was like when they had fixed their issues, it was a beautiful thing, and I wanted them to have that vision of, wow, this could be, it's like a person wanted to lose weight. If standing next to them, they could see themselves with the weight lost and how they look and feel, and they're proud of themselves for everything they did. That would go a long way to helping them to make the changes that they wanted to make in their life.
And that's the thing is that it is about owning up to how does this choice make me feel? It's not up to what the mind wants, but how does this choice make me feel? And many a times when we get the rug pulled out from underneath us, at first it hurts like helicopter. It hurts. And then when we walk through that hurt a little bit more, we can kind of sometimes feel, oh, I had big anxiety about being able to hold up to that scenario that I was going to have to do. Oh, maybe now I may be able to make that choice differently. Maybe instead of doing it all myself, I might have to ask somebody to support me, and then I'll want to say yes to it. There's sometimes the universe says, pause, we're not going to have you do this because we weren't emotionally, spiritually, mentally prepared yet to go there.
Yeah.
And it gives us a chance.
Both of us as life coaches too, it's not, everything's spiritual in a way when you look at everything we do as part of our journey and everything. But when we talk about some down-to-earth ways of dealing with change, one thing that I think helps my clients is that for them to look at their situation, that they're in a quagmire of something that's like, what am I going to do? Like, what about, where am I going to work now that I lost my job? Or, I'm in this relationship that's dead end, and how do I should I leave or should I stay? That sort of thing. I try to have them do a spiritual exercise first, like a little meditation. In other words, a good thing to do sometimes, I tell them, well, go have a shower or a bath, get yourself all cleansed, get comfortable, and just get in bed, put on some soft music or something and say a little prayer, because they're listening up there. Your guides are listening. Just say, hey, I need some help here. I have this problem and I really want to do the right thing. And to just kind of close your eyes, listen to the beautiful music for a minute, and then have a notepad and paper there and write down, a page there and put, this is my problem. These are the things these are the horrible things that I'm going through right now. And then in the next page or two, just try to think of, okay, what are my choices here? I can't just do nothing. If I do nothing, it's just I'm going to want to blow my brains out. You got to move
Yeah.
forward in some way, and then start. And sometimes people don't realize how many different that they come up with. Oh gosh, I could do this. Oh yeah, what if I did that or that or that? Sometimes they're amazed at, but when they're relaxed, they've just done that and they're asking for help. How they can get ideas. Sometimes if they just close their eyes and kind of listen to the music and kind of meditate a little bit with their issue, solutions will just pop in your head.
And that's the trick, is to write them down unbiased.
Yeah.
Many of us are going to write, oh no, I can't do that. Oh no, I won't. That won't happen. Oh no, no, no. No, write anything down that comes to you, looking at it unbiased.
Yeah. And if it's
yeah, it's our mind likes to control a lot.
Yeah, and if it's in a situation, one thing that's good to kind of that helps, I think, people move on is say, okay, what is there anything that I did to contribute to this issue happening? In other words, were they at the fault anywhere? That's kind of a different solution sometimes than when something just happened to you, like you're going through an intersection and someone goes through a red light and hits you. In other words, it wasn't you going through the red light. And so if you went through the red light, someone hits you, oh man, I really messed up. I should have paid attention and gone through that. But sometimes these things happen to you, like you're just going along like nothing and somebody T-bones you or something. And then you go, well, what the heck was that all about? So then, it's two different scenarios there. If you went through the red light, first thing you have to do is take responsibility for it and go, okay, am I learning something from this? Am I going to go through a red light again? And no, hopefully I learned my lesson, and then you go, well, now what do I do in the car insurance, and what do I do, how am I going to get to work and all that? And, but if somebody hits you and you had nothing to do with it, then you can still say, well, wow, what am I learning from this? Well, maybe it's to have you don't know what the circumstances, maybe that person was an elderly person that hit you, or, maybe that person has a drug addiction and was drunk and went through, and then how do you deal with dealing with that in a compassionate way, even though somebody did something wrong, or, I mean, it's just so many things that come up, but,
and it could be as simple as learning tough love. Well,
right.
somebody was drunk that hit me. Well, they're going to have to be accountable for it. But what is our intention going through it? Is it to damage that person, or is it to say, you know what, I'm going to have boundaries so that this person cannot hurt somebody else,
Right.
or that kind of thing. And sometimes it's that learning to stand up for ourselves.
Yeah.
Things happen for us to learn to stand up for ourselves. It's an interesting little process, and that's where sometimes getting a different perspective does help. I was listening to my astrologer, and she wonderfully, sometimes on a Friday, she'll do some card readings, and she says, "Oh, Natasha, I saw you on this. We'll have you do it. And it's nice to kind of sometimes give a card reading to somebody who uses cards." And I said, "Yeah, because it's nice to get another perspective from somebody else, and another card deck that would have given me another message." And it was like, I like that message that gave me a whole new perspective on how to move forward, with looking at my future. And it's really interesting when you do get a different perspective on how to. That's why we can't do life alone. We really can't do life alone.
Yeah.
So with that, we're at 55 after the hour. We've been running over. So
Okay.
I think that's a great segue to how can people come and have help with going through their journey. Regan, how can they have help with you?
Well, being as we do this all the time, sometimes Natasha and I have maybe a perspective that you might benefit by helping us get you in a calm place and then walk you through trying to help you see all the different choices you might have in your situations that you have, that are difficult in your life. We don't have all the answers, but I think we do have sometimes enough. I know for the hundreds of clients that I've had, I remember many of them that as we worked together as a team, and we were able to get them through these situations with the least amount of emotional damage, possible. And what I do, and you can always get a hold of me at visittheafterlife.com. I do regular Zoom sessions for people with regular therapy using hypnosis and EMDR, as they call it, or emotional freedom technique, EFT. There's some really good things to help you through emotional issues with grief. And even if you just want to lose weight or stop smoking, some of the easier things, but fears, phobias, I specialize with post-traumatic stress, with helping people get beyond that by giving them, if you're going through post-traumatic stress and you go to the big picture, like if we do the spiritual part and in a deep state of trance, which everybody can reach, I'd say almost everybody, you can actually visit heaven or the afterlife and get a council of coaches that are a little more schooled than even Natasha and I, because they're up there and get the really big perspective, and they're the ones
Well,
that help
yeah, I still have the human perspective, even though I'm getting the word from the universe.
Right. Yeah. So, we've done that with 65,000 people so far, where they get to visit there. And while you're there, you spend a couple hours in heaven, having a ball, going before a council, going before a soul group of these, or souls that are your favorite souls on the other side. And you actually go home. That's where we all began. You go home for a couple hours and, say, hey, what's up, everybody? Kind of like, and it's a life-changing experience. It's a 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 hour session, but it's life-changing for people. So anyway, you can get a hold of me. There's a lot of videos and information on my website. I'm giving away a couple of free books on there. One's about my experience in heaven, the 3 hours, 33 minutes I spent there. And the other one's about reincarnation is real. It's about all the current research being done around the world. And there's a lot of proof been coming out about reincarnation. We're in a different time now. So you can ask a request for the free books on my site. It's on right below me here. Visit theafterlife.com very easily. And I'm here to help. So Natasha, what about you?
You can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. And my life purpose is to help bring forth light through the darkness. It's my calling. It's my calling to do that navigation of giving people a different perspective so that they can see the whys. And wisdom comes from that. Breath comes from that. Knowing that it's a process in life. The journey of life is something that is not going to always be easy. And why does this keep happening to me? Getting a different perspective. Even I have scenarios that a lot of times I like to get different perspectives just to help those moments so that I can become the greater self that I want to be. And wisdom comes from that. Love comes from that. Greater movement comes to that. And you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. And I do hope to pray that somebody can reach this and hear this. And this show does help you get through these moments, as life is throwing a lot of crap around right now. And it does take seeing the different perspective to get through that crap and finding a little bit of joy. Like a little message today, I had a squirrel run in front of me today on my way to work. And I asked, and squirrel is about balancing work and play. There's more about squirrel, but that's the quick version of what they mean. And I'm asking myself, play. When do I play? How do I play? I have my dog that wants to play with me, but how do I play with my dog? I play for a few minutes and then I don't. And it's like, perspective. Time to get a little different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So please come and visit us on Mondays and Wednesdays at 4:00 Pacific time to watch The Dance of the Soul and Life Clarifications with Natasha. Same channel, same place. If you're watching us and you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to this station or like the page that you're on so that you can see my inspirational quotes and Regan here on Mondays.
Yeah.
Blessings to everyone and have a wonderful week coming up, and know that perspective can bring miracles. As I picked up a necklace on the playground for a student today, and I knew that it was one of these groups of girls, And I told one of the girls, did somebody lose a necklace? This girl lost her necklace on Thursday, the last day of school. And I found it Monday morning on the playground. I call that a miracle.
Yeah.
I call that a miracle. So there are opportunities for miracles to happen, but it's us having the perspective to see them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Blessings to you. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say it was so. I was dating somebody sometime, and I surprised her. Went to a conference where she was, and she was surprised because no one in her life had ever done something like that nice for her to just go show up and just meet her, there. And she was distraught because her grandmother's wedding ring she was wearing on her hand, and the diamond fell out of it. And this was like 300 people in this big auditorium, and they looked everywhere and couldn't find it. So I just did a little spiritual exercise, and I leaned down to the floor and I looked under all the chairs as far as I could see, and then all of a sudden I just saw a little tiny sparkle, and I just went right over, and boom, there it was, and just picked it up. And I always remember that day. It was so cool how I just went, okay, I could do this. And I just asked Spirit, just let me help her find this. This is her grandmother's ring, and it's so important,
Mm-hmm.
And just in this whole big auditorium, just a little tiny sparkle from the light, reflecting on the diamond there. So
perspective changes our world. Perspective changes our world. Blessings to you. Have a
See
great
you next week, everybody.
Yes, definitely. Bye now.
We have a nice guest next week too, so tune in.
Oh, yes, we do, don't we?
Yeah.
Thank you.